Okay, so if anyone can explain what's going on with this, why our panels would test okay, and then when we connect them to the charge controller, they fail under load. We can't figure it out unless maybe there's some type of internal corrosion inside of the panel itself, which isn't allowing the power to flow properly.
This time on Sweet Ruka, Curtis continues discussing the solar dilemma, and keep watching to see more upgrades as we prepare to head south.
Okay, here's our new panel, and we're gonna go ahead and put this in the exact same spot that we just tested the other panels on the same day, at the same time, and see if this brings in amps. That will confirm that it's not our wiring and that it is the flexible panels over there themselves. All right guys, let's get a shot of our charge controller here. This is gonna give us our base point. Right now we're at 10 amps, 166 watts. Let's plug this panel in and see what happens. This is a 155 watt panel. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can, but we've just plugged this in and now we have 16.31 amps at 248 watts. So this panel is absolutely working properly, and this confirms that our wiring is just fine. Everything flows all the way through with a good panel, but with the bad panels, nothing's happening. So once again, I'm 100% convinced that we have 3 bad Renogy 100 watt panels. Let's go. Welcome to Saco de Ribeira. We're here in Brazil, and we're gonna go do some shopping today. We're gonna try and get a little bit of boat work done. We've got a few pieces on our boat that need a little bit of maintenance, and then we're gonna try and make a little rain fly. So when we go to Patagonia, when it rains, we can kind of deflect that out of the cockpit to stay a little bit drier. Those are our goals for the day, along with taking out the trash.
We headed into the town of Saco de Ribeira in search of someone to repair and create some canvas for us. Also, we wanted to find a machinist or someone whom could produce a new fairlead. We thought we could tackle a few more projects while we waited for the anchor and chain to return from being re-galvanized, and for our rail mounts to arrive for our newer, heavier solar panels. When we first arrived to the canvas shop, it appeared they were closed. We were still figuring out the tricky and seemingly endlessly changing business hours here in Brazil. So instead we decided to try and find the machinist that was recommended to us. This was also proving difficult, as we knew there would be no sign outside the shop. Eventually, a local businessman helped us to lead the way and even acted as translator to help describe what was needed. He invited us back to his shop for a coffee while we talked about Brazilian boats and his time in the United States. We thanked our guide for the coffee and then decided to seek out the canvas shop one last time. When we arrived, the door was open, and after some muddled Portuguese from us, the seamster Jacob made the repair right on the spot. Something that's difficult for us to do without a sewing machine on board. Curtis also prepared a drawing of some canvas panels he wanted to add to keep rain out of the cockpit. Our Portuguese was only getting us so far, so the next day we invited him and his wife out to the boat to make the proper measurements for the new project. Oh, Phillies.
These are going to be nice.
The idea of making the canvas panels was to have a little help in keeping out the cold and rain while in Patagonia, as we can have windier and wetter conditions down there. After we got all the pins and needles and hopefully sizing and explanation correct, it was time to continue the upgrades.
We just got our new solar rails in and it is time to mount them up. That is today's project. So these are our old aluminum bars, and you can see it's just an aluminum C channel. Really, really small, really, really light. But this was all that we needed to support our lightweight, flexible solar panels, which is really nice. See how light this stuff is. Let me show you the new stuff in comparison so you can understand how much more weight we're adding and how much more heavy duty it has to be to support the additional weight. So you can see these two big long bars here that are wrapped together. We've got to measure them and then cut them, and then they will go right back here to be supports for our solar panels. Right now we have the other two solar panels up there just to kind of test fit to see how they look, and they're just zip tied on, so really nothing permanent. Let's get to work. All right, we've got about 86 inches across here, and our three panels are going to be 79.5 inches wide. This is our satellite antenna for our Iridium Go, and where it is right now, these U-bolt ends are going to be conflicting with our solar panel mounts. So I'm just going to flip it and move it to the outside of this real quick and as far forward as I can. And we won't have to do any more wiring to move it, and it still should be in a pretty good spot for good reception because it works very, very well here. But it'll hopefully stop just a little bit less shading and get these bolts out of the way. Okay, we've just got this moved now, being careful not to drop our nuts and bolts into the water, because if we do, that becomes a day-long trip to the hardware store for new stuff. So we've got to be really careful here in the water. So the plan is to use these mounts that we have right here. These are actually aluminum mounts that we got from a 4x4 off-road distributor, and they're meant to hold big off-road lights on off-road racing trucks. They're actually really nice. They've got a rubber gasket that goes in between the aluminum and the stainless steel to help prevent corrosion. And so far they've worked pretty good, and they're really strong on there. So we're going to continue to use those. It was a really, really cheap alternative compared to the marine grade mounts. And these fit all 1-inch stainless steel tubes. So if you guys are looking for something to mount stuff to your stanchions or to your Bimini tops or anything like that, these actually work really, really well. So there you have them. They're made by a company called House Tuning. I'm not quite sure what they are. We just got them off the web, and this is no endorsement of them. They're not paying us for this, but they've just worked well for us, and we'll try and maybe put a link somewhere where you can buy these. Okay, we've got it measured out here. We're going to cut it 1 inch too long, and we think that we can always cut off a little bit of excess if we need to, but we'd rather have it a little longer than too short. That's what she said. Ooh!
This is a family show.
All right, let's get the grinder out, get this cut, and we can start mounting them up top. got our holes drilled in here and we're almost ready to start mounting these bars up.
Today we are going to work on the dinghy. It has some air leaks in the pontoons, and the way I found out was by filling a spray bottle with soapy water and spraying the pontoons and looking for bubbles to form. So that's how I found the 2 holes in each side of the pontoon, and today we're gonna repair those. These are the materials that you need. Most importantly, we are going to use some West System G5 5-minute adhesive epoxy. So that's what we're going to be using with our repair patch here. And we are going to use these scissors to cut out the size that we need. Before we put the patch on, we're going to use some sandpaper to make sure that the area is nice and abrasive so that the glue will hold stronger. And then we will clean it with some alcohol and a clean rag. So I also have a cup here for mixing the epoxy and a wooden stick. To be safe, I'm also going to use some rubber gloves. All right, let's get started. The paddleboard also needed a repair, so I ended up fixing that too. After ample drying time, Roxy and I celebrated with a paddle through the mooring field. But it can get a little rolly at times.
Sometimes we act like a fool, not aware we're troublemakers. Sometimes we try to be cool, not being givers, only takers. Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute. Don't get over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you wanna be for a minute. Don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you? You could gain from being a bit nicer, know when to talk and when to shut your mouth. You're so moody, always such stop for a minute. Stop and breathe for a minute. Long it over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you wanna be for a minute. Don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you? You're so such a fighter. Try to open up your mind sometimes. You'll be just fine.
I think our chain's done, babe.
Yeah?
Ooh, yeah. Look at this. Picture looks really good.
I'm excited. Hola.
Hola. Sim. Obrigado. Sim, sim.
Sim.
Obrigado. 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 Bye bye.
Ciao. We're spinning still.
We've got our chain back here from the galvanizer. It turned out pretty well, I think, but not perfect. There's some links that are kind of basically stuck together, and I think it's because they dipped the whole chain. They didn't actually tumble the chain. I'm not an expert in galvanizing. You guys please tell us more about it, but this is our first try at it, and we're maybe 50% to 75% happy. It's better than a rusty chain. It's better than throwing our chain away and trying to buy a new one, which would cost at least double this, if not more. So if this gets us through a few more years before we've got to do another round of work on it, we're going to be pretty happy campers. So let's get this puppy loaded up here, back onto the anchor roller, through the windlass, and into the anchor locker, and see how this works out. Here.
I've been feeling stuck here lately. Think I might be going crazy. Yes, I know
It's still coming through. You're gonna have to let me know because it can jam in there, so you gotta keep an eye.
now you've been away for so long, and I've been fighting feelings so strong. Yes, I know you feel it on my radio. I need to get out. You're all I think about. My head in the clouds. With you I was bouncing off the walls, but now I'm on the floor. But did you let me go? I want something new, 'cause everywhere I look here I see you. All the memories and all the things we used to do. Shouting from the rooftops every time the beat drops. Always on repeat like shouting from the rooftops
And we're basically done for now.
every time the beat drops.
Okay, we've got our anchor back on the bow. That was a pretty good process. Wasn't too bad though, I don't think, was it?
Yeah, we made it before sundown.
So the galvanizing on the anchor also turned out okay. There's some small spots here that, you know, I'm not the most happy with, but at the same time, if you kind of look around where we are, it is what it is, right? We are not in the land of Home Depots and CNC machines and all kinds of other goodies that we might be used to. Everything is done around here in an old-fashioned way, and that's the way this chain is galvanized. So let's just see how it works out over the next few years.
Well, I'll surely let you guys know then. You're in a new place, you don't always know how everything works, and we're lucky enough to find people here to help us out, like Rose and Alex. They were awesome. They had to drive 2 hours one way and 2 hours back to get this thing galvanized, so that was really sweet of them. And yeah, we're just gonna hope for the best. It's definitely better than it was before, and hopefully we can get a few more years out of it. So, but work in beautiful places.
I think it's time for sundowners. Check out this sunset over here. How freaking cool is this? We cannot complain about being in Brazil. It is pretty nice here, actually. But we almost don't even want to tell you guys back home because it's really like our little secret. Nobody comes here. The locals, it's a local secret. But this is basically almost as beautiful as the BVI around here. And now I gotta get a tennis ball.
I want something
Did you get the ball? Did you get the ball? Did you get it? Did you get it? Oh, good girl. All right, you make cocktails and I will put everything away. Is that like a good deal? Okay. Bye. Bye. Our goals are still set on sailing south towards Cape Horn, and as we work on the boat, we feel a sense of excitement as we think about this tiny mobile home and how far we've come. And we're grateful for the places we never expected to go, such as Brazil and Saco de Ribeira. Stay tuned next time to see the result of the Canvas project, and a special thank you to our patrons for helping to extend our journey and make these videos possible. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.